Every good rhyme starts with once upon a time. Long ago, far away, centuries before our day. Humans lived, monsters roamed, both shared earth and sky as home. Yet this peace came undone, war was waged and humans won. Forced below, monsters fell.
Welcome to Literary License Podcast, Book to Screen, Once Upon a Time episode, exploring children's classics whilst losing our innocence along the way.
Hello, welcome to Literary License Podcast. It's Book to Screen. We'll be discussing a children's book and the screen. And today it's Coraline by Neil Gaiman and the film Coraline. And before we get started, let's find out who's with us. We got Vicky Ray with us. Hello, Vicky.
Hi, everybody.
Leandro
Hello.
Ghazi with us. Hello, Leandro.
Hello, everyone.
And I'm your host, Keith Shago. Before we get started, let's find out what we've been up to. Starting with you, Leandro. What have you been up to?
Well, working more than before now. I've used to have, I have two allotments of plots where I grow vegetables. Now I have just one. I move everything to one. So I have been working a bit on there. I'm excited because in this month I'm going to be doing a lot of things. I'm going to London to see Madonna, maybe meeting my friend Keith
Cool beans.
for
Good for
food.
you.
Yes. And then at the end of the month, I'm going home. So I'm really excited to see the family and my dog. What about you?
Well, personally, I saw this fantastic movie on Prime, which I suggest everyone watch it, called Totally Killer. It stars
What's it called?
Totally Killer. It
Totally
has
Killer.
it has Kira Shipnuck in it from
Keira
Sabrina.
Knightley?
No, the girl from Sabrina.
Oh, okay. What's her name?
And it's got the mother from Modern Family in it. And basically, this killer killed this group of girls called the Mollies because they used to dress like Molly Ringwald in the 80s. And
Is it a true story?
no, and their mom survived. But then what happens is the daughter goes back in time to try to solve the murder, so she ends up in the 80s. Really funny, got some good horror sequences in it, not too bad. And then I saw Pet Sematary Bloodlines, the sequel.
I started watching that last night. I fell asleep only because I was tired. I actually like it.
It was okay.
I actually like it.
It takes place of the neighbor
Ludlow,
from
Maine.
across the road. It's
Yeah.
him when he was younger, so it takes place in 1969. So it has some good moments.
Sometimes dead is better.
And of course, the television series of the year, Generation Z.
Oh my God, I cannot sing its praises enough. I fucking love that show. Oh my God, I can't wait for all the episodes. I didn't even know you told me. It is so freaking good. Oh my God, it's excellent. Totally love it.
I mean, they made a teen drama that's so on PC. It's excellent. So
it's so not PC. I mean, they beat the piss out of everybody. Literally so funny. Oh my God.
And I'm sure the person who can change their sex at a moment, I'm sure that's a piss take of Ellen Page.
I think so too, because I was watching real close, right to the way she looks, he looks, she looks. And then at the end, well, I hate to be a trigger warning, but he ends up sleeping with the other girl. I was just like, and when the girl turns small and she's hanging off that guy's dick, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, what the fuck?
But it's brilliant.
It's awesome. It's freaking awesome. It's even better than The Boys almost. I mean, that's how funny it is.
I have to sit there and say that because The Boys takes about 2 to 3 years to do a season.
Yeah.
Now, if this takes 2 or 3 years to make a season, they'll be able to.
Well, it came out a year later last year, though. It was like a year last time because we
Yeah.
got fucked because of COVID. But it's like one of the best series ever. I mean, whoever's writing it, just fucking genius, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, it's one of the people who do Supernatural, the TV series, the boys in this.
I didn't know that till you told me that this week.
Yeah. So, anything else? No, just kind of living life and.
Have you finished to write your book?
No, that's been put on hold to next year. I've had to change everything.
With everybody move and stuff.
Yeah, moving in February. And a shout out to my nephew whose birthday's today, and he passed the bar. So
yeah, happy birthday!
Congrats! Congrats!
He's in the top 5% of the country.
That's awesome.
So,
what is the bar? Sorry.
That's your nephew here in Texas, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Oh, he'll never lack jobs in Dallas. I tell ya, this is the town for lawyers.
Well, he had a job anyway. So before he even graduated, he got hired.
He was already hooked up.
But if he didn't pass the bar, he would have to leave. So he studied really, really hard. But he's very intense, and he's extremely focused. You know, when he has a goal in mind, he hits his goals. So he's not like my sister like that. So, but other than that, not too much. What about yourself, Vix?
Well, I watched Gen V. I got into Saw. I love Gen V. We argued about that. I started watching some of the other Saw movies because I want to see the next one. I just love the Saw franchise. Just love it. Talk to Me, saw that. Didn't think I was going to like it. It was actually pretty damn good. It was pretty good. Watched The Conjuring 3. I don't know why I did not finish watching that one. I just been watching spooky season, so I'm enjoying it. Got into my Universal monsters, Dracula, Frankenstein, all that good stuff. Then I watched Lantern's Lane. That's another new one on Hulu. Fucking weird. Thought it was going to be one of those stupid, like easy bake kind of movies, but it actually turned out pretty good. It was just one of those, I'm going to get you because my daughter committed suicide because you teased her in high school kind of bullshit. So it was mindless entertainment, basically. An American Horror Story. Somebody out there, watch the first 4 episodes and tell me what the fuck I am watching. I honestly do not get it so far. And I was watching because everybody's bashing Kim Kardashian, which normally I join in on. But she's actually the best part of the show so far. So I have no idea. It is probably the most disturbing American Horror Story, other than the Roto-Rooter guy in Hotel, the one that, I don't even have to tell you what Roto-Rooter man did with his Roto-Rooter penis. But I mean, this is really disturbing bullshit. This one's really disturbing. So it's got to do with babies and pregnancy and stealing fetuses when you're not expecting them to while you're sleeping. Just fun stuff like that. But anybody, please explain to me what I'm watching because I'm not understanding what the plot to this is yet. It's just so bizarre. I cannot figure it out. I kind of got clued in. But I did finish watching Gen V. I mean, that was just excellent.
Well, American Horror Story has kind of gone off the boil a bit.
That's gone off the rails. At least I knew, like with Murder House and Asylum and Coven, I knew what was going on. I just can't figure out what the theme is, except that somebody wants her to have a baby. They stole it, or she's still pregnant. I haven't figured out yet.
That's right.
It's just really sadistic and unsettling. I don't want to see vaginal probes and things. I just no.
It's a nod towards Rosemary's Baby, I believe. So.
Well, yeah, and what was it? Oh, well, I'll get into that. A couple of nods for Coraline, but other than that, fixing to go to Europe with my kids for about 4 or 5 days. My daughter likes to take me. She just wants to celebrate because my daughter graduated nursing school and she's an RN now, and I'm really happy for her. She's finally amounted to something. Love my kids though. But other than that, it's fall. It's spooky season.
Yes.
Nothing else to talk about really. Just watching my horror movie.
And speaking about dark, scary, that brings us to Coraline, which is a dark fantasy horror children's novel by British author Neil Gaiman. Gaiman started writing Coraline in 1990, and it was published in 2002 by Bloomsbury and HarperCollins. It is awarded the 2003 Hugo Award for Best Novella, the 2003 Novella Award for Best Novel, and the 2002 Bram Stoker Award for Best Work for Young Readers. The Guardian ranked Coraline 82 in its list of 100 best books of the 21st century. It was adapted to a 2009 stop-motion animated film directed by Henry Selick, who also directed Nightmare Before Christmas under the same name. What we're going to do is cut to the synopsis of Coraline and be right back. This is the synopsis for Coraline by Neil Gaiman. Coraline Jones moves into a new apartment with her parents. As a curious and adventurous 11-year-old girl, Coraline quickly becomes bored of her new surroundings, even though she has some eccentric neighbors to keep her company. One rainy day, Coraline becomes interested in a strange door that opens out to a brick wall. Mysteriously, the brick wall vanishes the next day and the door leads to an eerie corridor. When Coraline explores it, she finds that on the other side is a parallel universe that is a mirror image of the one she just left behind. She finds an alternative version of her new home, inhabited by versions of her parents who call themselves her other mother and other father. Her other parents are eerily similar to her parents with one big difference: they have button eyes. Uncertain of her place in the safety of this new world, Coraline returns through the door. When Coraline returns home from the parallel universe, she finds that her real parents have gone missing. She decides to go back to the parallel universe and look for them. Coraline recalls what bravery means by remembering a story of where her father rescued her from a swarm of bees. Coraline undertakes several brave adventures in the other universe as she battles the evil other mother in a game to save herself, her parents, and more. She ends up discovering the incredible strength within herself through these adventures. And that is the plot synopsis for Coraline by Neil Gaiman. Back to the show. Hello, welcome back to Literature License Podcast, and we're discussing Coraline by Neil Gaiman. So, Leandro, what's your thoughts about Coraline, the book?
I enjoyed reading this book. I found some interesting. Well, first the prologue. I don't know how you call it. The beginning of the book has a really cool message, and I think it's really nice to when you start to read the book, that the first thing that the author do is to give you a positive message, right? Or like a blah 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 blah. And he was saying that a brave person is not the person who is not scared. It's someone who is scared but do the things anyway.
I
think
that.
Yeah,
I
I think
like
it's
that
that really powerful message. Because those messages that you can apply to whatever is your situation, whatever you're doing, whatever is your background. Fear is one, it's like the feeling is imagine is not similar. Everyone feels different, but you know what I mean. And then the story, I like it, but it happened something that as the story was going on, it was reach a moment when she saw that globe. I thought, okay, they're inside of the globe, right? And I don't like it when the story is so predictable that you probably could imagine what will happen. But I really really enjoy it. I like it because it's not really long. To be honest, I read it the majority of the book on Thursday in 3 hours total. So probably if I would have read it like one paragraph each day, yeah, it
wasn't much different from the movie. They kind of stuck together pretty good.
Yeah, well, I found it that it was similar, but as usual, in the movie sometimes
You never get everything.
Yeah, no, we will talk. I will talk more when we are
Well,
talking
no,
about
I'm
the
just
movie.
saying. I just thought that they followed it kind of close.
Yeah, but I agree with what you say. It more or less was respecting the story as it was. It was nothing like crazy.
Didn't you feel like she was like a neglected little girl that nobody cared about in the book? It just seemed like her parents were too busy for her. No wonder her imagination was going askew.
Yes, and then I thought for a moment, well, hold on. hold on a second. Don't tell me that. I start to think, I don't know, I don't remember where it was, and I start to think, I said, oh, well, what about if she is describing now how she's starting to see, for example, her mother, that her mother is a crazy woman, a bit of like a
Yeah,
witch, with bad temper, that was the things on her way, that has a special way for loving her, that everything has to be how she wanted, and she's starting to see, for example, how her mom manipulate her husband. That the one, at a moment I thought, well, hold on, this like a horror movie, horror, sorry,
it is
book,
a horror story. I think
yeah,
it's dark.
or is she growing up and is she starting to realize more how each of them are, and then at the end of the story, she realized that no matter how they were, she loved them anyway, and start to see the other side. I don't know. It was because then when she was looking with that stone that has a
The
hole, it's like
Hagstone,
a kind of
yeah.
like she was seeing more or less the thing how they really were,
Mm.
right? And I don't know. What's really interesting to me, think just for a moment, just a different possibility rather than the story as itself. But yeah, all in all, I enjoyed.
I mean, the
Yeah,
important thing to remember is that it's a British novel, first of
right.
all. So it's steeped in a lot of British folklore. So when Coraline's walking through before anything starts happening and she steps in the toadstool, that's called a fairy circle. So basically
Right.
what happens, she's opened up the fairy mouth. But another thing is that mist and fog play a big part in this.
Yes.
Next thing you know, it's like everything's foggy and everything starts coming down and everything's
Yes.
covered with fog, so you can't see anything straight. But the
Her
only time
life, she's just a bored little girl that just doesn't have any grasp on reality, really.
Well, I mean, another thing is that you have to remember that when the story takes place, they just moved into this place like 2 or 3 weeks prior to that. So you got
They
the
got the
parents,
crazy neighbors.
yeah. But you got the parents trying to sort out their lives, trying to get unpacked, trying to meanwhile work from home, which is quite interesting because it's very pre-COVID. Them working from home was quite ahead of.
Very, very.
So, so they're trying to do that, trying to get everything sorted and stuff like this. So therefore, meanwhile, she's just walking around and she's, you know,
Yeah.
exploring
Um,
life and this. And I guess another good message in the book is be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but then what also I found quite interesting is that the other mother, and basically she's a bottom, which is basically a female,
Bedlam.
yeah, female
She's
evil spirit.
chaotic. She's
yeah.
evil. She's
Well,
spiderish.
Yeah.
She's
yeah.
got a
And
web.
another
Just like her, it's a total construct, her world. So
Yeah.
another thing that really like made me think in a different, like out of the box, let's say, was that when he started to say that he started to write this book for one daughter. I can't remember the real name of his first daughter, when they were living in London or in England, and he finished writing this book for his second daughter,
Mhm.
right? And then I thought, well, what about if, for example, he started to describe with this book how he was feeling in certain way,
yeah,
right? Like the man was at home, blah, 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 all the things that I said before, that he was starting to feel like he was just got in one in typing and writing and trying to write, and the mother in only uh trying to control everything, blah, 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 blah. So well, what about if like, and then they move to USA and then they chill a bit more, and then he realized, okay, now we have reached to this point, now we start in a different way, and now everything goes back to kind of like relaxed. Coraline can see them as they really are. They're not getting like more crazy
do you
in a
guys
way, like
read? Go ahead.
I don't know. No, no, like so kind of like, when you're like so into a rhythm of doing things that you don't have 2 minutes to stop and appreciate something as it really is.
Yeah,
So I don't know. That's another thought that I thought that came to my head, and I thought, well, it could be that also, that he's trying to, because he was trying to write for one daughter, then he was trying to more or less mix that life that they were having, because actually he was saying that they were living in a house that was like that. So
Well, I mean, another thing I found interesting is that everything is revolve around a circle.
Yes.
Well, there's a lot of witchcraft throughout this book.
But
There's
I mean,
always spirals and circles and constructs.
Coraline walks around the house.
Mm-hmm.
She walks around, when there's that time when she's walking with a cat and she walks around and it turns to nothing and then she comes back on herself.
Yeah.
The snow globes that her mother collects, her parents trapped in the snow globe. When she goes out into the world, she goes in and she goes back out of the world, sort of thing. So it's always like this huge circle all
Did you
the
think
time.
this is like a little Alice in Wonderland-ish kind of? Did you kind of see any kind of correlation between the two stories?
Yeah, without an annoying, because we did Alice in Wonderland, didn't we? And I always
Right.
Yes.
found
A long
Alice
time ago, yeah.
really annoying, but I didn't find Coraline annoying.
Yeah.
Well, she's kind of insecure in what she's already got is a comfortable existence, actually, and she's bored with her life. She's younger. Her parents are trying to get stuff situated. She's constantly seeking mental stimulation in some capacity.
She's
So
highly
she's a
intelligent.
typical girl looking for adventure,
Yeah. And she's highly intelligent as well. So
She's highly what?
highly intelligent as well.
Yes,
She's an intelligent
yeah.
girl situation.
I mean, it just the watching, how the real mother as opposed to the other mother, and how she's got to go through the tunnel, and everything's
Mhm.
like a web construct weave. I mean, then she looks like a spider. She's, she is a spider in the book, kind of. I think that's what they said she was. But
well, another thing that's
creeped me out.
as
It
the
was
mist,
dark.
but as the mist becomes, as the mist and the fog starts taking over, that becomes like a character within itself, and it's kind of weird because when she meets
Well, the world is a character.
when she meets the neighbors, the old two ladies, and she said the other one's looking for the other one because she's while she's out walking.
About the two old ladies, were those guys together? The two old ladies. It seems like there's a nod to a relationship there. And then when I was doing some research, there is a nod there. They're not married, but they're together.
Yeah,
I thought it was kind of cute.
possible. They're kind of like these dotterly old women who are together.
But just what about the green? Never wear green. What'd she say? Never wear green. And it's something to do with acting and theater. You know this.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. What did she say? Don't wear green and don't. Oh wow.
Macbeth. Never mention Macbeth because that's also.
Yeah.
But she wants the green gloves, doesn't she? So she looks different than everybody. So I mean, she's just like a little turd, but she's an enjoyable character. I mean, really enjoyable.
But all the neighbors call her Caroline.
Yeah, she doesn't like that though.
Yeah, they never get her name right, and even when she says it, they kind of like don't hear her. But it's
and I love it. And I love it. The reason behind is like he wrote the story Caroline, but someone made a mistake. He couldn't
yeah,
change it.
could be. But the one. But didn't you think the whole story is like the power of choice? I mean, she has choice throughout this whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's a theme running through there. But deception, illusion. I mean, this story had quite a bit to it. I mean, I was really pleasantly surprised. I really enjoyed it.
Had some really good foreshadowing all the way through it as well. Like, for instance, like the old man who's trying to train the mice, and he calls it.
Oh yeah, the rats.
And he goes, he goes, the mice had given me a message. They told me to tell Coraline, that not to go through the door situation, and I like the dowdy old ladies reading the tea leaves, and one seeing it one way, another one seeing it another way, but they're all foreboding danger, and I quite like that. That's quite it's you don't really get a lot of foreshadowing these days in anything. You kind of the story just kind of takes off and it just kind of goes. But I like all the little tidbits that are put through all this, and I liked how it's rich in its own world about like. The way things are, and every time you think about it, you think a little bit more about it. And I mean, I can understand why it's won a lot of awards.
I can see why. It's really quite a brilliant little story. It's quite clever, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got quite a bit in it. I mean, it's a dark story too. Everybody's saying whether or not you think it's horror or not. I don't know. I think it's rather horror-ish. You got a spider-like other mother who sews buttons on everybody's eyes as she steals their souls of children. It's like, come on, it's dark. It's just wicked dark.
Well, even when Coraline plays that game and she has to get the souls back, and they're inside marbles, but they're inside like like the sap or the eggs of the neighbors. It's kind of like
Well,
a
what
big
I thought is
ball.
like I was thinking like, for example, every time that the witch was getting one soul, kind of like she was expanding her world, like a kind of like, imagine I'm starting to act my power where I am, and then every time I gain a soul, I can create that world that they were seeing like bigger and bigger. So that's why she couldn't. That when Coraline was walking around, it reached a moment that was everything was white and it was like there was nothing left because there was nothing to carry on expanding that kind of spell. That's what I thought. I don't know. It's not saying in the book, but um,
And she
because if you
does
think
eventually
every time
appreciate.
she was getting one of those marbles that was a soul, that thing was getting destroyed completely and was out, let's say, out of the map. So it was like less power for the witch, and so then it is the house. So I could think, okay, hold on. The whole story was happening inside of the house, and because she was getting in different times in history, let's say, right? And because she was getting more souls, she was be able to expand it like the range of, I don't know, power. That's what I thought.
I also liked it. Yeah, I like that with the whole world becoming deconstructed. You know,
Yes.
and I like
One
that
thing that
when she enters the world and she enters the house like towards the end, and it's just like a drawing.
yes.
It's like a drawing. It's
Yeah.
all the colors gone.
Yeah.
One thing that I like a lot is like when she that was another message for me. It's like when she met the cat, and then but when she met the cat in the other world, and then she said, "Okay, what's your name? I don't have a name. Why do I will need a name? I'm me. Humans are the ones who they don't know who they are. That's why they need a name." And that was like, okay, that's a slap. Like it's so true, Like you have your name that you don't even choose, but chose. It's like it was given by someone else
Mhm.
because they need to address you. But imagine if you will be able to, I don't know, choose your own name. Then you say, okay, this is me. No, but it's really clear. It's like really like, I don't know. For me, that message would make me was like, oh yes,
Well, yeah. I
She
mean,
did
if you
figure
if
out
you
though
look
that
at
her family was important at the end, though.
yes,
well, I think you realize it's like you don't want perfect. Perfect is kind of boring,
It
really. I mean,
is. It
yeah.
sucks.
you're better off
But
with.
I like what she said to the witch. She said, "Well, but you don't get," when she was acting like the mom said, "You don't get. I don't want everything. If I have everything that you can give me, there will be everything will be so simple that there will be no need to wish because you wish because there's something that you want that you don't have. But if everything that you want you have it in time, thing doesn't have any more meaning, and then bring you back to okay, the most important things are the things that you can buy or you can, let's say, no one can give. You can put any price. Just for example, the quality time that someone spent with you can put a price to that. That's like priceless. So I think that's I don't know. I think she realized that. That's why I said, okay, I don't want anything of the thing you can give me because she wants her parents back.
Mhm.
Well, everybody was opposite of what they were like in the other mother's world. Like the two little old ladies, they were supposed to be like kind of roly poly, but they were kind of skinny and haggard looking,
Yeah.
with the
Yes.
fingers. But they described the fingers, but they're still kind of nice for the old ladies, though, even though they're in the bad world. But I mean, it's really the imagination is just outrageously great in this. I mean, I would have never thought of stuff like this, like the button eyes and things like that.
I mean, this is probably the fourth book I've read by Neil Gaiman. His other children's book called The Graveyard Book. They're all very dark anyway, and that's basically a story about a murderer comes in and kills this family, but the baby who's a year and old crawls away and ends up in the graveyard, and so the ghost raised him, and he's called Nobody. It's a really
Yeah.
good book, but excellent book. But he also wrote like American Gods. I read that, and
That's right. He did write American Gods. I was like, oh my God. I didn't realize that he wrote this stuff. Well, American Gods is pretty out there too, though.
well, the Sandman series is his as well. The one that's
I
on
can see that. I didn't know that. I can see that
he wrote the
completely. I
comic book
love
for that.
that. When is that coming back on?
I
Yeah,
don't
it's been a
know,
year.
but they all have that similar, very darkish, but very watchable. But at the same time, that he has they're
It's
all
dark,
all
and
very
there's
quirky.
children involved.
Yeah.
You know, so it's unsettling, even if it's like a fairy tale with a twist, kind of. You know.
I love the cat in it as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
I could never figure, is the cat part of both worlds?
Well, apparently,
I think no. I think that the cat has that thing that he said he have the ability to go in and out between worlds.
which is kind of interesting because if you ever have a cat,
Yeah.
I mean, like Boo, for instance, he spends hours just staring at a wall like he's looking
Yeah.
at something.
They all do that. It's just freaking creepy. Cats are creepy. They just are.
It's like they
Ours
see
does
something
that
that
too.
you see something that we don't see. I'm not sure what they're seeing, but they're like looking
No,
at
they start doing this with their paw and nobody's there.
Yeah.
It's just like, fuck. It's like, what are you doing? There's nothing there, dude.
Well, if you look at Egyptians, anyway, Egyptians like cats because they thought that they would lead their soul to the next world.
And they guarded the underworld. Yeah, cats were a big deal. I mean, they used to mummify their cats.
Well, maybe it's connected with that thing about like the Egyptian that they were like in, as you said, in this world and leading you to the other world, which is what he was doing in a way. He was in this world, and then when she was in the other world, he appeared again, lead her to be able to come back because let's say it wasn't her time. So,
But yeah, I mean, I think I can't find anything wrong with this book whatsoever. Maybe we should rate it. So starting with you, Vix, how many stars do you give this?
Oh, definitely a 5 for brilliant imagination. And just the other stuff, this author is he's just got a fantastic imagination. And I mean, I'd even let a kid read it. I mean, it's dark, but it's nothing that's not gonna, it's just a great book. It's a great Halloween choice, really. It's
yes.
What about yourself, Leandro? How many stars?
I believe 5 from 5. Yes, 5 because of the message at the beginning and all the other little messages in between that I think they're really clever because they're put there for a reason. It's not just like to,
very clever.
Yes, really. What about you?
I'm gonna give it a solid 5. I think it's another book that I probably will go out and buy a copy in hardback.
I'm not tempted to too because I want it for my other hardback collection. I got a hardback collection. I mean, I know.
And I think it'll sit nice next to the Graveyard Book and Charlotte's Web, but I think it's one of those books I would probably reread easily because I think every time you read it, I think you're going to see something else, and that's what I quite like.
Well, it's such a huge world that I bet you that I probably missed a shit ton of stuff. I mean, we could cover this for another hour, but it would get redundant. But there's just so much to this book. Awesome. It was a great pick.
Well, this brings us to Coraline, which is the film, which is a 2009 American stop-motion animated dark fantasy horror film written and directed by Henry Selick, based on Neil Gaiman's novella. Produced by Laika as the studio's first feature film, it features the voice talents of Dakota Fanning, Teri Hatcher, Jennifer Saunders, Dawn French, Keith David, John Hodgman, Robert Bailey Jr., and Ian McShane. The musical score was composed by Bruno Colas. The film tells the story of an infamous character discovering an idealized alternative universe behind a secret door in her new home, unaware that it contains something dark and sinister. Her friends, a boy named Wybie, and a stray black cat, help her set things right and become closer to her parents. Just as Gaiman was finishing his novella in 2002, he met Selick and invited him to make a film adaptation, as Gaiman was a fan of Selick's other stop-motion projects, The Nightmare Before Christmas from 1993 and James and the Giant Peach from 1996.
Yeah.
When Selick thought that a direct adaptation would lead to maybe a 47-minute movie, the screenplay had some expansions, like the introduction of Wybie, who was not present in the original novel. Selick, looking for a design away from that of most animation, discovered the work of Japanese illustrator Tahiro Atsugi and invited him to become the concept artist. His biggest influences were of a color palette. It was as muted in the real world and more colorful in the other world, similar to The Wizard of Oz from 1939. To create a stereoscopy for the 3D release, the animator shot each frame from two slightly apart camera positions. Products of the stop motion animation features took place at a warehouse in Hillsbury, Oregon, near Portland. The film was theatrically released in the United States on February 6, 2009 by Focus Features after a world premiered at the Portland International Film Festival on February 5th and received critical acclaim. The film grossed $16.85 million during its opening weekend, ranking third at the box office, and by the end of its run had grossed over $324 million worldwide, making it the third highest grossing stop-motion film of all time after Chicken Run from 2000, Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit from 2005. The film won Annie Awards for the Best Music in an Animated Feature Production, Best Character Design in an Animated Feature Production, and Best Production Design in an Animated Feature Production, and received a nomination for the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature and a Golden Globe Award for Best Animated Feature Film. It has developed a cult following in the years since its release and has inspired over 3,000 YouTube videos on how and on ways to dissect and look at this film from different angles, and has been considered one of the greatest animated films in modern times. It later premiered on the Cartoon Network in Latin America. With the production of Coraline, Laika would become the first company to make a feature-length film using replacement faces made by a 3D printer. What we're going to do is cut to the trailer of Coraline and be right back.
Coraline Jones always dreamed of finding a better world. A world more exciting than this. But never did she imagine that she'd discover it in her own home. A parallel place.
We've been waiting for you, Coraline.
Where parents are always fun.
I love your garden! Can't believe you did this!
And everything is so good.
What's shaking, baby?
It just can't be real.
Mom?
You're just in time for supper, dear.
You're not my mother. My mother doesn't have...
Buttons? Do you like them? I'm your other mother, silly.
You probably think this world is a dream come true.
My name!
But you're wrong.
You do like it here, don't you, Coraline? You could stay here forever. There's one tiny little thing we need to do. Black is traditional.
She's got this whole world where everything's better, but it's all a trap.
You may come out when you've learned to be a loving daughter.
From Henry Selick, the director of The Nightmare Before Christmas, comes a world of extraordinary imagination. Spooky secrets.
Who are you?
You're in terrible danger, girl.
And daring discoveries.
I still have to find my parents. To set them free.
This year, when adventure comes knocking,
Choo-choo.
there are some doors that should never be opened. Coraline, written for the screen and directed by Henry Selick, presented in Real D 3D.
Hello, welcome back to the Literature Lessons Podcast. We're discussing Coraline from 2009. So, Vix, what are your thoughts of the film Coraline?
Well, it definitely does deliver. It's really dark. It's spooky. Just right down to, I got a thing for eyeballs. I always have. So the button things with the eyes, you know, and the other alternate world kind of freaks me out. I don't do eyeballs. Sort of like, you know, in Friday the 13th, the first one, arrow to the eye. I was done after that. I never was normal after I saw that scene. But it's not really disturbing in a gory sense, you know, like severed limbs or things like Friday the 13th. But it is really kind of a dark imagery, kind of cautionary tale kind of story. I And I think Dakota Fanning's voice was probably perfect for this because she's such, she could always do a little snot so well, in her younger years, especially. I like Dakota Fanning. I've always admired her. But she comes because she doesn't really have any sweet, colorful friends or anything. She's kind of a nasty little girl in this. Her parents are they don't pay attention to her. They're bickering or they're cooking or doing their own thing. Dad is really kind of a wacko. I don't really know what the hell's going on with Dad in this movie. But I mean, it's a lot like the book. I mean, it's dark. She has to make choices. She wants to go to this world, realizes that the grass isn't always greener on the other side, and realizes that her true place is in her world, and she's totally taken it for granted and doesn't appreciate her parents. They're actually trying to make a life, But I mean, it's a good film. I mean, I didn't get up. I watched the whole thing through. You get vested in all the characters in it, except for maybe Mom and Dad. I think they had everything. They were kind of shitty. But I mean, it was a great story. They adapted it well. I mean, it was dark. I mean, they made it look dark. And in the animation, it was superb. I mean, I've never seen anything quite like it. Even the other, Pixar stuff. It's totally different. This is totally in a category of its own.
To be honest, I think the stop motion brings it to a different degree than if it was computer animated.
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, the work that went into it. I mean, you could appreciate it.
I mean, how they did the fog and stuff like that. And considering that, I mean, how stop motion, if anyone out there is listening, if they don't know, is that basically every single move is they move it, take a picture, move it, picture, move it.
That's just so meticulous. I mean, I don't know.
Sorry, that is not the way. That is not the way Walt Disney was doing the cartoons. Oh, no. This one that you mean is
no. Pixar is computer animated. And the other ones are cell animated. Like Fantasia and Beauty and the Beast. They're all cell animation.
Yes.
Stop motion animation. So what they are is models. They make these little dolls with little armatures, and basically they dress them up. And then in order to make the movie,
I got what you mean. Yes.
They move them.
Sounds like claymation.
They're made with kind of like with clay, and then they move it, and then one next to the other, right? That's what you mean?
Well, it's like claymation. It's the same concept.
Same concept. Claymation is mainly used by the people who do Wallace and Gromit and Chicken Run. That's more claymation.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
Pokey.
Here they use Gumby. Gumby.
So how do they do this one? I don't get it. Sorry.
They make little dolls. They make dolls, and then what happens?
They make little figures and they move them.
Yeah, they move them
every second. They move them,
and their faces they're all made from plastic and different materials, and inside their bones are like this little metal skeletons. And then what they do with the faces pop off, and each face has a different face and a different vowel sound and different word sound. So that way they can match that up. So they have to keep changing the faces every time they speak.
That's really cool.
It is. It's meticulous. That's what I said. I mean, just the brain pan to do that, and just the patience that's required.
I think it takes 3 or 4 years to make a stop motion animation film.
Of that magnitude, yeah, easy.
Because they also remember that they have to build the sets as well. All the sets are built, so that house is built, and they have to build the house. So if Caroline's like 3 or 4 inches tall, the model is, they have to build the house so that way it would be able that she can walk through doors and stuff.
Yeah. So it's like like not a scale. Yeah, you know what you mean. Yeah.
I mean, what I found quite interesting as well, which I was a little bit shocked in this movie, is that when Caroline goes into the other world and she visits the old ladies,
they're skinny.
Well,
what about when they're fat and they're wearing hardly any clothes?
Yeah.
yes. That's when I thought, okay, hold on, this movie is I wouldn't recommend this movie for maybe let's just say 5-year-old kid. I would recommend it to be like more like a teenager, because it's like in an aspect it's like kind of like Shrek. that if anyone can watch it, but if you are like growing up, you will get other messages, more things to understand. Yes, that was really cool when they finished the show, and then there was the lady was with the big boobs, and then they took the suit, and it was another person. Yeah,
I
that
was,
was.
I mean, that's just a little bit shocking. I guess because it's a family film, and basically you don't really see breasts like that in a family film.
Yes, yeah. That was, and the way she was the Venus of, I don't know how you call it in English, in Milo.
Venus de Mayo.
Yeah, she was like on the painting, and the other one was like another one, like a mermaid. That was really clever. That was really cool.
I
What
mean, another
did
thing
you?
I found quite interesting is that all the characters are made out of sawdust,
Yes.
which is quite I quite that was quite freaky that they're moving around and that the rats are basically, they're not mice, the rats are like an alarm system for her. They're watching everything, they feed
Did
into
you notice some of the nods to the horror movies, like the chair where the father sits looks like the chair Jack Nicholson was sitting in The Shining? And then they had the stuffed animal thing that they were playing with. It was on his face like an alien. I mean, it's just like, I caught that shit. I mean, there's probably more that got by me, but they had several nods to horror movies. So it was definitely kind of a horror movie. You know, it had those little Easter eggs in it. Those, I always appreciate those.
What I didn't get much is like, that, for example, when she, in the book, as far as I understood, she was not, she went once to the other world, then she came back, then she went again, and then she didn't come back never again, and then she went back. In this one, it was like kind of like she was coming and going all it like 2 or 3 times.
I think that has to do because of
she had to want to stay, didn't she?
And well, the thing is, like, every time
they had to expand it because the film would not been more than 40 minutes, so they had to make it a feature length. So I think that's why you have like YB, and then you have like YB's grandmother, and that one that she lost her sister in the house, and that because I kind of added that in, and they added the doll in, the Coraline doll as well, didn't they? That you see being made in the beginning.
They kind of look like skeletal specters or something. You know, they got all skeletal, like the little old ladies. They were plump and juicy. They were, the fingers and the hands. I mean, I would let a kid watch it. Maybe not 5. I mean, it might kind of scare a 5-year-old, I guess. But it was dark, just like the book. It was dark.
Yeah. Another thing is that in this perfect world, the old fat drumpy women are thin and beautiful.
Yeah.
The upstairs neighbor is basically fantastic in his circus show, and and it's the perfect YB because she found YB annoying because he talked all the time, but there's the perfect YB where this one doesn't talk.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if
he was so underappreciated.
Did you realize that I realized 2 things? Like when she was in the garden, right? And everything was, there was a moment that she destroyed that well, it was her daddy on the top of what's the name? Like an insect, I can't remember the name right now. Amantis, right? And then when she took the first orb, the first little marble, everything went gray, and all the garden was a face. Then when they were at the end of the movie, they were planting flowers, and the camera pointed again from underneath. You could see it was the face of someone. I couldn't see
it's the face. It's the face of the other mother.
Yeah. So I thought, well, that's really interesting. That means like all that place. That's what I was thinking. All that place was the witch domains, let's say, right? It's like a kind of like Hans and Gretel. Like everything was that place.
Yeah, kind of.
But I think that also deals with England. I think that's part of the whole English folklore thing. Because they transport this to Oregon for the movie. But that has to be that she's always been there. She's been there before time.
Yes.
Teri Hatcher. Did you think Teri Hatcher had the best voice? I don't know why. Teri Hatcher was a great pick. They even kind of made her resemble Teri Hatcher a little bit. It was a beautiful woman, really, but I could just see Teri Hatcher just coming out in the character.
Interestingly enough, Coraline was staged in a 140,000 square foot warehouse in Hillsbury, Oregon. The stage was divided
Damn.
it was divided into 50 lots, which played host to nearly 150 sets. Among the sets were 3 miniature Victorian mansions, a 42-foot apple orchard, and a model of Ashland, Oregon, including any details such as banners for the Oregon Shakespeare Festival.
Wow.
I mean, there was more than 28 animators worked at a time on rehearsing or shooting scenes, including 90 to 100 seconds of finished animation each week to capture stereoscopy. I mean, so they would get 90 to 100 seconds per week. That's what they were filming.
That's crazy.
It's like a minute and a half, not quite 2 minutes.
Well,
Wow.
I mean, look at the intricacies of the film, though. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at a picture of it where they're at the table with the other mother. And I mean, that is just amazing work. I'm truly amazed by how they did this. I'm just I totally appreciate the time and just the skill that went into making it. It's brilliant.
Well, the Coraline, interestingly enough, there's 28 identical Coraline puppets. Each one took 3 to 4 months to make, and usually took 10 people to construct just one.
Wow.
And each character had 208,000 facial expression faces made.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, you sit there and watch something for 60 to 90 minutes, you have no idea how much work went into it. I mean, Hollywood's one thing, but a lot of work went into it. And I mean, the product was well deserved.
I mean, this is quite interesting. Althena Chrome, one of the animators or crew members, was hired specifically to knit miniature sweaters and other clothing for the puppet characters, sometimes using knitting needles as thin as human hair. A single garment had taken anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months to complete. The clothes also simulated wear using paint and file. God, I mean, taking little knitting needles that are as thin as hair just to knit clothes for the characters.
Oh my God. Isn't that amazing? I didn't read that. You must have read different articles. That's amazing.
I wanted to ask you something. What do you think about, at the end of the movie, her friend brought his grandma, and I couldn't get much that part because I thought that it was like, well, he was the one who gave Coraline the doll made by like looking like her. So then I thought, well, hold on. Right? So here there are like two witches. So how this works? I couldn't get that.
The grandmother had the doll from when her sister disappeared. So when Wybie saw it at his grandmother's house, he thought this looked like Coraline, so I'm going to give it to Coraline. And then the grandmother gets upset. So the rest of the movie, Wybie's asking for the doll back, but she can't find the doll.
Yeah, but the doll was looking like Coraline.
Yeah, but that just means that that it was being foreshadowed, because basically just because the doll looked like Coraline now, when the grandmother and her sister had the doll, it looked like Coraline, but Coraline didn't exist anyway. It just
because I don't know, this called my attention a lot.
Just means that basically that was the future. That basically that doll was the future of what was going to happen.
Yes, but if you remember at the first beginning of the movie, actually even before the movie starts, there's someone that is destroying one doll and making a new one, and that one is Coraline.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, though, when you're seeing that doll being constructed, you don't know when it's being constructed. It might not be being constructed in that time.
When she arrived, let's say, yeah. But for me, it could
have been constructed 50, 60 years ago at the beginning,
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it was really interesting that. And then that at the end, the grandma appears again, and also and at that point, I thought, well, hold on. As Vicky asked, this cat belongs to our world or to the other world? And then I thought, well, hold on, how this cat can know so well this witch? And then I started to think, oh, what about if they know each other from before, and the cat is fed up with this witch, and he wants her to be destroyed? Like now, Coraline entering into play, and he helped her to get destroyed, which in a way, I really don't know if she was really destroyed, because in the book, Caroline's make it perfect. So then she ended like the hand ended falling in the well, and then she put the key in another place. But in the movie, she tie the bag where the hand was with the same piece of cord that she was doing with the key in the thing. So it's like, okay, hold on. If the hand, for some way, kind of reason, get constructed to get together again, it will have the key. The only thing you have to do is go and open the door. So I thought,
Well,
oh, what about this?
I mean, the thing is, she took her power away because she, when she got the children's souls back, that because she
Yeah.
fed, that's what she was feeding off.
Mm-hmm.
And then so basically, what that means is that if another child ever move into that home, and for some reason has enough power to get that soul, it'll start all over again. So she's not truly.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's the reason why in the garden you see like where Coraline's face was. Now you kind of see the other mother's face, kind of.
Well, doesn't the
Yes.
doll show up in different locations, like spying on her? If I remember correctly, the doll.
Yeah,
keeps
Yeah.
showing
always
up.
like in the back. It's always in the background somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only I think yeah,
It
I
didn't
believe,
have buttons on the eyes yet.
but I think
Mm.
if you even when she's going shopping with her mother, if you look in the background, the dolls for some reason in the back on a shelf.
Yeah, it's creeping on her the whole time.
I didn't realize that. I will have to go and check that again because I didn't realize.
Yeah, it's always there somewhere in the real world. Like, but it's like
Wow.
a
The key's a real visual too. That key shows up a lot too. That key is really important.
Yeah, the button key.
Yeah. But it's a parallel universe, so technically but she wasn't in the parallel universe. So but everybody else was. But she made them in the other world, didn't she? Because when Coraline gets one of the marbles or one of the girl's souls, she finds this sack that's seeping and slime. And she reaches inside, and basically it's those two old ladies as like embryos inside the sack.
Yes.
It was kind of gross too. It was an adult cartoon, I have to admit. I liked it. I mean, there's so much to it. You really have to watch it though, because they made a second one, didn't they? There is another one out there.
There was talk of they
didn't do it.
Get to it because I think they
Another
decided
8 years.
Yeah, another 8 years to make it. But I think it's quite interesting that Coraline. Okay, I mean it wasn't a huge success, but I mean if you go on to YouTube and type in Coraline, there are videos dissecting and going into it and what everything means. And I mean I watched 2 or 3 of them and I was just like, but I mean there's hundreds and hundreds of videos. I mean this has really captured people, and this is like their all-time favorite film. I was like, I mean it's got quite a huge following, especially if you consider that people have gone into such depths. I mean, where they like take each scene and they dissect every single scene and what every single scene mean, or what every single scene means in the movie and what every single scene means in the book, and then they compare them. And I was like, I mean, and they go on for. I mean, some of them are like 5 or 6 hours long.
Wow.
Know.
That's crazy. But I mean, I didn't realize. God, it took 4 years to make. That makes me appreciate it all that much more. Holy cow.
I mean, I always like stop motion animation. I think if you're an American, I mean, we love our stop motion animation because we have a whole childhood based on that, whether it's Rudolph the
Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Santa Claus is coming to town. We also have Ray Harryhausen, Jason and the Argonauts. That's stop motion animation. Clash of the
Gumby and Pokey.
Gumby and Pokey.
David. What was that? David, the church show.
Oh,
David, what was that called? You know which one I'm talking about? It had the friggin' church music. Da 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 da. You know what music I'm talking
That's
about?
some kind of Christian message. And then at Easter.
David. Oh, what was Davy and something?
Open up your eyes. I have an Easter surprise. Easter is like the story of Jesus.
Yeah.
We had puppet tunes as well, didn't we? We had the puppet tune series and stuff like this. I mean, we also had another stop motion animation film that we had was what we covered was The Seven Faces of Dr. Lao. That was
that's right.
That's stop motion in as well. So
we had Land of the Lost. H.R. Pufnstuf did some of that.
Yeah. Well, Land of the Losses, I mean, that's all stop motion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which basically, I mean, I went down that rabbit hole the other day about
Except for Marshall, Will, and Holly that were on a routine expedition.
with that little
I
band.
know the whole thing by heart.
But I mean, there are videos going really into that, what all that meant and stuff. So, but yeah, I think if you're an American, stop motion is something, you know, that we hold dear to our hearts, because I think we got a lot of it when we were growing up as kids as part of our childhood fabric. So,
Well, now that I know the work that went into it as an older person, now I mean, I just thought, God, I didn't think nothing of it turning it on the tube when I was a kid.
I mean, I would love to have a little doll of Abominable, you know, from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. But I mean, you can get the Coraline dolls. They look just like them. They model them after the puppets that they use for the movie. So. Well, to get Vicky off to her airline, let's rate the Coraline the movie.
My airline.
So, Vix, how many stars do you give Coraline?
Oh, 5. I think it's going to be like a Halloween tradition around here now. Sort of like that movie on the apocalypse at Christmas time. I watch that one all the time at Christmas now to get me in the spirit of things. But absolute 5. It's just, it's really a piece of cinematic art, really. It truly is.
And what about yourself, Leandro?
5. Yeah, I didn't know that involved so much work. But yes, even though I found it to have some tweaks, but I like it. It was enjoyable.
I'm gonna give it a solid 5. The only thing I regret, I would love to have seen this in 3D at the cinema.
Oh, no shit, or IMAX kind of deal or something like that. You watch, you never know. Someone might. Well, I've noticed when I was doing the research on the film, there was a lot of interest in it still today. So, I mean, that was a lot of, you know, it wasn't 2019. Some of the stuff I was reading was 2022, 2023. So the interest is still there.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, maybe we can get to, when I move to Dallas, maybe we can get a cinema to show it in 3D for us. Well, that brings us to the end of the Literature License podcast. Next week, our book to screen, and in November, will be Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nymph by Robert C. O'Brien, and the 1982 film The Secret of Nymph. And of course, we'll be continuing our Batman the Animated Series with 4 episodes of Batman, which will include Paging the Crime Doctor, Zatanna, the Mechanic, and Harley and Ivy. And of course, our 2-for-1 Dark Families feature will be Kunalekek, and the whole.
I'm glad you could say it.
Kunalekek.
I just said that cunt movie.
2018 Indonesian horror film made for the family about a plot sucking children into a mirror. And The Hole from 2009. And of course, our anthology season will continue with Trick or Treat from 2007 and Tales of Halloween from 2015. And Doctor Who will be continuing with the Space Museum and the Chase, which aired from the 24th of April to the 26th of June, 1965. So it's good night for myself, and good night, Leandro.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Vix.
Good night, everybody.
I'll see you next week for Batman the Animated Series.
Hey girl, open the walls, play with your dolls. We'll be a perfect family. When you walk away is when we really play. You don't hear me when I say, Mom, please wake up. Dad's with a slut, and your son is smoking cannabis. No one ever listens, this wallpaper glistens. Don't let them see what goes down in the kitchen. Places, places, get in your places. Throw on your dress and put on your doll faces. Everyone thinks that we're perfect. Please don't let them look through the curtains. Picture, picture, smile for the picture. with your brother, won't you be a good sister? Everyone thinks that we're perfect. Please don't let them look through the curtains. DOLLHOUSE. I see things that nobody else sees. Hey girl, look at my mom, she's got it going on. Ha! You're blinded by her jewelry. When you turn your back, she pulls out a flask and forgets his infidelity. Oh, she's coming to the attic. Plastic, go back to being plastic. No one ever listens, this wallpaper glistens. One day they'll see what goes down in the kitchen. Places, places, get in your places. Throw on your dress and put on your doll faces. Everyone thinks that we're perfect. Please don't let them look through the curtains. Picture, picture, smile for the picture. Pose with your brother, won't you be a good sister? Everyone thinks that we're perfect. Please don't let them look through the curtains. DOLLHOUSE. I see things that nobody else sees. Hey girl, hey girl, open your walls, play with your dolls. We'll be a perfect family. Places, places, get in your places. Throw on your dress and put on your doll faces. Everyone thinks that we're perfect. Please don't let them look through the curtains. Picture, picture, smile for the picture. Pose with your brother, won't you be a good sister? Everyone thinks that we're perfect. Please don't let them look through the curtains. DOLLHOUSE. I see things that nobody else sees. DOLLHOUSE. I see things that nobody else sees.